All right, Kevin back with you for another episode of the $1 Million Relationships Podcast. And today I'm here with Jeff Martinovich. Jeff, welcome. So awesome to
Thank
have
you.
you on the show today, man.
Thank you. I'm excited. This is great. Thank you, Kevin.
Well, I'm just as excited. This is going to be so good. And I kind of got the inside scoop because you and I have already connected and got to know each other a
Yes.
little bit. And man, when you shared your story with me, I'm like, oh my, I mean, it's man, your story could be made into a movie, man. So
We've actually had three or four groups reach out to us for that. So
see,
maybe
I'm
that
not
could be
surprised by
next
that.
year's project. I would like, but I reserve, I'll take Michael, Michael Clayton. So I'm too old to have uh, Brad Pitt, so
Okay.
all my friends are picking who they want to play them.
Portray you. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yes, I need the old guy.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I want to start off by just giving a shout out to Kurt and Kristen Ludhart because they're the ones
Amazing.
that connected you and I. And
Yes.
man, I love Kurt and Chris, and they're doing such amazing things, and they also got just such big hearts.
And I love their
And
mission, no
yes,
doubt.
yeah. And anytime Kurt reaches out to me and says, Kev, you should connect to so and so, I'm just like, man, Kurt, if it comes through you, I'm in, man. You know?
Right, right.
And
I
and
agree.
that,
I agree.
I mean, and right there, what a testament right there to the power of right relationships, because the right
Which is your world.
relationships just cut through all the surface level BS stuff and get right to the point, and and it just opens doors like quickly and easily. And and of course that's what this podcast is all about and stuff. And
Right.
so I just want to start off by asking you a really simple question to start with, Jeff. What do you do and who do you serve?
Well, right now, after my crazy story, is
Which we'll
we
hear
help
about that.
in the business world. I've just had miracle after miracle, and it's been like I don't think it's oversaying it to be a resurrection. And so we have like 19 companies that we help and grow and build and help the CEOs and the management teams and stuff. And so we have this staff of guys who have been wildly successful. So we learned a long time ago that, that's where all the money is made, that's where all the success is made, to help not only the owners, but so many other people have secure jobs and benefits in the community and the charities. So that's doing for the last 5 years. And I have a law firm and some funds and some partners that have just been incredible to me. And together, we've really rebuilt the world, and I really can't explain it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So, right now, what inspires you most about the work that you get to do and the impact that you get to have in this world, Jeff?
Well, it's interesting. Lots of times, kind of people like me who may go through the Wolf of Wall Street story or something like that is, you think like you were very materialistic before and everything, and now you've found the universe. But it really isn't like that for, I think, most people is, you'd like to think you were a really good person before.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
but people go through these incredible existential events. And but I'm older now. I have a 32-year-old son who we're very tight and work together. And I have a 4-year-old little girl, Carly. And
Wow.
so it's been family wise, along with all the work wise, has been a miracle. So it gives me perspective, of course. I think at 59, I'm more patient than I was at maybe 39.
Yep.
And so I just really have learned, and I even learned when I was in prison, the more people I help, the more the universe takes care of us.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
really worked over and over and over. So the day I got home, I just started helping as many people as possible, most of it at 5 a.m., for free. And it has just exploded into all these blessings for our family. And I just try to keep reminding myself to keep thinking in that manner.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay, so you just dropped a single word that I'm sure listeners just like, wait a minute, what did he say? Prison? Um, so let's go
Right.
back a
I
little
always try
bit.
to shock everybody right at
Yeah,
the beginning.
yeah. So let's like tell us about tell us about that. What because you got a heck of a backstory, Jeff,
Ah,
and so give us some of the backstory. How did
okay.
we get here?
Okay. Well, the 2 minute story is uh, I went to the Air Force Academy, came out to Virginia, Langley Air Force Base, got my MBA at night, and I got out and I went into finance. I was a rookie stockbroker, didn't have any money, never knew anybody with any money, but I was really Bud Fox cold calling, 20 hours a day. But through a lot of luck and working 20 hours a day, a lot of people helped me build my own firm. And in this blue collar town in Newport News, Virginia, we grew it to 100 associates, over
Wow.
$1 billion, three hedge funds, mortgage company, insurance company, real estate company, all that type stuff. Then 2008 financial crisis showed up, Bernie Madoff and all that
I
terribleness.
remember
We
that.
we survived that, but what a lot of people don't know is the regulators and the government went around, and although everybody on Wall Street was just trading trillions of dollars back and forth, they shut down about 2,000 of what I call second tier firms. We were too big to not be on the radar screen, but too small to write a $200 million check to the regulators to
Okay.
make them move on to the next deal. So they make a list of your mistakes and the things you didn't do correctly. And I really had an existential moment. My son was going off to college, and you couldn't do this if you had small kids. And I do a lot of counseling, really, for people in similar situations today. There's more than you would think. That if you have small kids, you can't do this. But I'm the only crazy United States citizen who refused three federal plea offers for, at the end, almost a slap on the wrist, to demand to go to trial against the United States government.
Wow.
I had an Air Force Academy honor code moment that I wasn't going to stand up there and lie and say that my people did these things, especially in front of my son and my father. And I had a 5 week trial where I tried to explain hedge fund accounting to a very honorable jury of shipyard workers, two nurses, and a Baptist minister. And the government was much smarter than me. And they, every day in these big screens in federal courtrooms, put up pictures of my automobiles and my homes and my beach houses. And while everybody's 401k was down 50% at that moment, I was toast. So, believe it or not, I got sentenced to 14 years in federal prison for
Wow.
that adventure. And they sent me to a very violent prison in New Jersey, which was not a minimum security type thing that normally us guys go to.
Okay.
And and so I just had to, and of course, they take your $1 billion. And so I had no more attorneys and everything, which actually turned out to be the best thing possible. I took a job for 16 cents an hour in the prison law library and just started helping as many people as I could. I knew nothing myself, but by filing over 300 cases, motions in their cases, the universe came to me and taught me federal criminal law
Wow.
and almost gave me my own keys for escape. And I ended up filing over 500 motions in my own case with a
Wow.
number two pencil and a manual typewriter. And by incredible divine intervention, reversed the trial court's decisions 5 times, removed 2 federal judges, and made it back 7 years early.
Wow.
And the bad part is it took me 7 years to do that. And those are all those crazy stories. But it was an unbelievable adventure that I'm incredibly fortunate to be back and to be helping so many others. But that's what got us to today.
Yeah. Yeah. So going through all of that, what are some of the most profound insight? Because you know what? I mean, a lot of people would look like, man, I lost 7 years of my life because of this.
Right,
You know?
right.
But what are some of the most profound insights that you just gained from that whole experience, Jeff?
Well, one of the things I really focused on every day, and very fortunately, I'm a big believer of if we can be training ourselves for adversity today,
Yeah.
we're going to be stronger at the time. And I was in a lot of sports and the military and entrepreneurship, which might be the hardest one of all, of course. Um, and so I just had to make a decision that I wasn't going to have despair and self pity and curl up on a metal bunk for 14 years. And I made a commitment to every day make a 1% improvement physically. And, in that kind of environment with 4,000 mostly gang members, you got to be in the weight room every night or running the track. And it's not just for physical protection, but a lot of it endorphins and serotonin. So you have the energy to be proactive, to be aggressive.
Okay.
And secondly, every day to make 1% progress in intellectual development.
Mhm.
Certainly, I had to teach myself federal criminal law, but I also, when you come from the schools of finance and engineering, I was so miserable in all the classics and all the literature. And prisons have pretty decent libraries because all the nice families send it. So I read 26 classics and was amazed at how I loved it. And I would have never done that in my life if it wasn't for that opportunity.
Yeah.
And then, thirdly, of course, spiritually, whatever you believe, you got to believe in something to get through that. I'm a big God and Christian thing, and I read the Bible. God, I can't tell you how many times front to back. But also, I got into some Siddha yoga meditation, which really helped me open up my mind. It really helped me take this insane anger I had and bring it down just enough to make to be able to get out of bed tomorrow and do it again. And so that's what I committed to. You run a marathon by one step in front of the other. And what a lot of people can do a sprint during these terrible existential times. But you got to understand it's going to be way longer than you think it's going to be.
Mhm.
And so you got to get your mindset for a marathon. And that helped me by how to eat an elephant, bite by
Right.
a time.
Yeah.
That's how I got through that. And that created all these positive things that got me out of it.
Yeah. You know, what you said there is that, especially the comment about it can take some time,
Mhm.
and I think, even doing what I do now, it's been on my radar for, I mean, heck, I used to, I get to be this connector and conduit of trust for just absolutely amazing
Amazing.
entrepreneurs, and I've been doing that for 22 years. And so I'm trying to figure out the math in my head here. 14 of those years I did it for free, and
Yes.
and until 15 years ago, I had an experience where I connected these two guys, and man, they just totally hit it off. And I'm like, within 8 months, they were doing all this stuff together. And
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
and that's what I mean, heck, now they've gone on to make millions and millions together and had such a huge impact,
That's
But it was
great.
those two guys that first got me thinking, wouldn't it be cool if I could have a business where I just got to do that all the time,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so that seed was planted 15
Yeah.
years ago, and it really didn't start germinating until, well, 8 years ago. This has been my full-time gig for 8 years. But even at that, I feel like just now in the last couple of years, I'm really getting traction.
Yeah. Well,
And
in one of my business books, I actually have a lesson in there about we like to throw a lot of parties and events, and we think it's a great way to connect people,
yeah,
and that the leaders should really spend the whole evening just connecting people and saying, Bob, do you know Susan? Susan's a realtor over here. I know you're looking to move your printing company over there. And what happens is you create all of these connections, which become concentric circles.
yeah,
And people later realize, how did we even get connected? Oh, it was Kevin.
yeah.
Yeah. And so it's amazing the exponential value that that builds.
Yeah, yeah, and it definitely did not happen overnight. That's for doggone sure.
Right, never does.
And so and and I think a lot of people they end up they give up too soon. They give up, that like, oh, this isn't going to
Most
work, or
most hikers give up within 1 mile of where they would have been rescued.
okay, okay,
You
wow,
know, it's a terrible statistic.
yeah, yeah. Well, so I want to, what is a result? And you don't have to name names here if you don't want to, but what's a
Okay.
result that you have helped a client get that you're just incredibly proud of, Jeff?
Well, when I got home, from a business standpoint, my Air Force Academy roommate flies out to see us on the second day I'm home from prison.
Okay.
And he's such an amazing guy. And he said, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're home. I have all these problems and all these companies." He's been incredibly successful. And so we ended up merging four of these losing companies, uh, and then we brought in a bench team of guys from the Air Force Academy who were on the basketball team with us and the rugby team. I mean, it's hilarious. You can't make this up. And ended up turning that whole operation around from losing $2 million a year and having $4 million of debt to 2 years later selling it for $8 million to private equity out of
Wow.
California. And but the reason I took a lot of pride in that was because those guys were there for me. I
Yeah.
mean, they came and visited me in prison when there were some crazy things happening and I didn't have a dollar to my name and my storage unit had been sold off. They put the people in place to help me.
Wow.
And so it's a very symbiotic relationship that I just want to reward those people so greatly for helping me. And
Yeah.
I think, if I just keep on that path and then, 2 + 2 = 10.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. You're so right. We have those relationships in our life that like you said, when you didn't have a penny to your name and you're in prison and and yet they were there for you to support
They
you
were
and help
there.
you. And yeah, yeah. And
Hey, but let me tell you the best relationship result story.
okay.
Okay. So it's about a year and a half, and I'm in prison and I'm just destroyed and despair. And I got a love letter, and it was from Ashley. And Ashley had worked in our mortgage company years ago, and she had always been a friend. And um, she wrote me a love letter and said, all her friends have told her she has to write me this letter because if she never tells me, she'll always regret it. And she said, I've always loved you and I'm going to stand by you and we're going to win this challenge and I'll be there for you. And I'm like, bawling, crying as I get this letter out of the blue. And she then drove 7 hours each way to
Wow.
visit me once a month in a terrible prison visiting room, which I can't even tell you how horrific that is. Once a month for 7 years until she picked me up at the front gates 7 years later, brought me back home, and we are married. And by a miracle, so this one medium lady who you just can't believe that this stuff is real said, Jeff, when I got home, your two children are going to thrive. And I said, oh, joy. I just want to remind you, I only have one child, Cole, who's 30 years old at the time. And I was like 57 years old. So, and she said, oh no, you have two children. You just haven't met the other one yet. And a month later, at New Year's Eve, Ashley tells me she's pregnant.
Wow.
And now we have this unbelievably beautiful little girl, Carly. So that is the greatest story of somebody who built a relationship and was incredible overachiever. I never deserved that. And so now my mission forward in life is to just make their life unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. You know, and you, I've got a wide range of kids because my oldest is Jerry's 39, and our youngest Abby. We actually adopted Abby when she was 3, and she's now 13,
Oh,
and
wow. That's
so
awesome.
there's a pretty big spread there, you know.
Yes.
But your spread is bigger, you know.
Well,
It's,
as you've probably seen, little Carly worships her older brother.
yeah,
I mean, worships him. So,
it's
I mean, I
awesome.
just can't explain it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm just sitting with this. So, okay. So I want you to think about and what's an example of a situation where you personally got to make a really substantial impact, and maybe even in the moment, maybe it even surprised you a little bit, but you're also like, you know what, that would have never been possible if not for your relationship with your now wife and stuff. What's an example of something like that, Jeff?
Well, as strong as we all may think we are, it gives you strength, it gives you hope, it gives you inspiration. And while she was supporting me, it then gave me power to support all these other people. Let me give you just, I have so many of these stories, but I'll give you a quick one. So one night, we had 12-man rooms that were pretty violent a lot of the time there in prison. And there's what you do is you have a store guy who buys some of the snacks and everything at the commissary, marks them up so that then if in the middle of the night you need a snack, there might be some food.
Okay.
And one night, the small Guatemalan guy, who was a really good friend of mine, um, that large Tony, who was 6'9", and in a different lifetime should have been a Division I amazing basketball player. He took exception to the pricing markup and started to beat the Guatemalan store guy, and it became this huge violent outcome. But earlier, I had done all this paperwork for Tony to get released, and he was actually on the verge of getting released because he should have been. And he was going to go to a camp to a much less violent place. And in the middle of the night, I ran across this 12-man room and I jumped on Tony's back, literally grabbing him around the neck. And I was screaming in his ear, you're going to go to a camp. You're going to go home, but not if you keep beating on this person. He just had lost his mind, which is very common there. And he turns around and he said, oh my God, thank you so much for doing that. goes back to his bed, everybody lives, and then 3 months later, he got released home into Toledo, Ohio, to his grandmother when he would have spent, the rest of his life in prison.
Wow.
And it was for like a bar fight, way back when. And, those are those crazy moments that you hope you had some impact
Yeah.
on people's lives.
Yeah.
And, we hope we have many more opportunities for that.
For sure. For sure. Well, Jeff, for anybody listening to this thinking like, man, Kevin, yeah, you're right. Jeff's got a heck of a story, and I like Jeff. For anybody might be thinking like, man, I'd like to find out more about Jeff and what he does. Any websites, any resources we can share with folks?
Thank you, Kevin. So I've jeffmartinovich.com,
Okay.
and certainly LinkedIn and Facebook. And what I'm trying to do now is we have this portfolio of companies that we help, and a lot of people reach out to our team for Ash Business Advisory to help them and jump in the boat with them, as I always say. And it's been incredibly rewarding. And then on the other half, I love to do a lot of speaking and traveling and meeting with CEO groups, entrepreneurs, just business people to say, it's kind of funny when I'm telling them these stories, I can see their eyeballs like super huge, like, oh my God, this could happen to me on Tuesday, because it really can. And so the first thing is awareness. And so I do try to shock all entrepreneurs and business owners to understand what could happen to them this week. If the black swan walks into your reception area, I mean, this all will happen, and you really almost can't do anything about it, but you can get way better prepared than I. So in my book, When Not If, that Forbes published, is it talks about, here's about 20 lessons to be better prepared than I was so naive. And we're making $1 zillion and you just think everybody's good and there's no problems. And then the other 20 lessons are, once that black swan shows up, here's all the things that I did wrong from the first day. And if I could do it now, I'm not going to say I'm going to make a different decision about standing up against the government, because I still today believe I wouldn't. Not that that's the right decision for other people, but there were 20 other things I could have done so much better. So I just want to educate everybody in the world of business community that, because I want to save those families. I
Yeah.
want to save those shareholders, those employees, that they don't have to go through this.
Okay. How can people get a copy of your book, When Not If?
When Not If is, we were very lucky. It was a Amazon #1
Okay.
bestseller, and it's on Amazon, and it's on my website.
Okay.
And that was, so if somebody bought it, it'd be them and my mother. So yes, that's good. Thank you so
Nice.
much, Kevin.
You bet. Well, is there any last thing that you feel led to share, Jeff, before we call it a wrap?
Well, life is so crazy, and I was on this path, try to get straight A's, try to be, the sports and the things and the go. And life sends us these curveballs. Is saying a curveball is not a representative way to say it. It's a bazooka. And, I literally lost, $1 billion firm and everything down to 0.00. But what I want to give other people is hope and inspiration that, what, you can go through anything as long as you get through it. You just gotta get through it. because it's gonna be way longer than you think, and it's gonna be much more terrible than you think. And but then when you get out the other side of the tunnel, I do believe God gives you these incredible rewards. It's almost like, okay, you made it, and now you get all this. And I really do look at the world that way. So I just want to tell other people after I do my speeches and different conferences and things, I'm just so humbled by so many people that reach out to me,
Yeah.
and what they do first is they tell me their terrible story.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, and I mean they're terrible. So we all have it,
Yeah.
and but they made it. And I think if we can support each other, if we can all give each other hope and inspiration,
Yeah.
um, you know, that's the message. And so I want to help everybody be smart, business wise, way better than I was. But I also want them to be strong and hopeful and inspiration, because that's how we really make it out the other side. And there's a lot of people that reach out to me, if anybody's listening, going through anything, I'd love for them to shoot me an email or a call. I want to help.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be unbelievably amazing on the other side.
Yeah.
That's what I want people to understand.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Amen. And you're right. We've all got a story, and we've all had these
Everybody,
just crazy experiences.
everybody.
And I think, man, you sharing yours, I think gives other people permission to, like, oh, well, you know what, man, Jeff, wait till you hear my story.
Yeah, I love it.
You
And
just give them
you know,
permission.
these writers and movie people that come to me, they talk about 99% of people run away, and hide after these terrible things happen. And it's so embarrassing. In today's world, we all have the Google factor, right?
Yeah.
Um, but if you don't run away, what I do in every meeting I have, Zoom is so crazy today. I say it right at the beginning of every meeting. Hey, do you have a minute? I want to tell you this crazy story. And what I have found that has attracted so much goodness,
Yeah.
because people respect that. People, you don't want them to Google it.
Yeah.
You want to tell them the story. And then, unfortunately, in the world today, and maybe we're making progress on this, so many people say, "Oh my God, I know somebody who went through crazy stuff." So I just urge everybody to own their story,
Yeah.
be as strong as humanly possible. Listen, nobody has more fear than I do. I live with it every day, and it rises up, but that's the deal. That's the story. So I hope everyone else can own their own story, be transparent about it,
Yeah.
and say, hey, that happens to everybody.
That's right.
So turn it, as Malcolm Gladwell will always say, turn disadvantages into
Yeah.
advantages.
Yeah.
And they'll be blown away by the advantages that gives them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like you said, it just attracts people to you.
It does.
It
It's
yeah.
it's crazy. You think it's the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because like I said, everybody's had crazy stuff happen. And like you said, they might be embarrassed about it or whatever, but by you
Right,
sharing your story, by us, all of us sharing our stories, we give other people permission that, like, hey, it's okay to talk about this stuff.
right.
And
Exactly right.
and that's what they want. That's what people want. They just want to make real, meaningful connection with other
I
people.
I agree. I
And
agree. It's been unbelievable.
yeah. Well, Jeff, I want to thank you so much for taking the
Thank you,
time
sir.
to have this conversation today. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you, and I'm excited to get this out there, man. So,
Well, that would be great. Uh, Kevin, you're doing such an amazing job. Your site and your podcast and everything creates, like you say, so many relationships. But I think it gives people ideas, it gives people hope, and it gives people the desire to connect,
Yeah.
which, we are all human beings on this planet.
Yeah.
So I think you're doing a hell of a job.
Well, thanks much for that. And thanks again, Jeff. Really appreciate you.